Project Configuration, Setting Up Edge Link Aggregation. By the time we're done here, you will configure link aggregation to an edge switch. All right, here's the situation. In the previous nugget, we set up what I call core lag, and that is lag between switches in the MDF, in the IDF, where we've got a lot of traffic going between them, and then we need that extra bandwidth. But there's other areas of this building, namely my CBT Nuggets office, where we need a lag as well. Let me show you what I've got. So here's my recording workstation, if you will. Take a look down here. This is the equipment that I'm using for demonstrations, and I've got my computer over here in this wire mess. I feel like I'm kind of going through my underwear drawer, so it's a little awkward. But you can see right here that I've got port 117 in blue and orange interfaces right there, and that's the only network cables run to this office. So what I want to do is I want to run those as a lag interface to this guy right here, which is that Ubiquiti Edge Switch 8 we pulled out earlier in the series, and set up a lag to this, and then I've got, at that point, 6 additional interfaces that I can use to run to the network equipment and my computers, etc., etc. Now, I've got to admit, this also gives me another great excuse to bring another vendor switch into the picture, because I've been dying to configure this Ubiquiti Edge Switch since we pulled it out of the box. All right, well, let's get going. What I've done is I've pulled that Edge Switch 8 over here to the configuration table, if you will. I've got my Surface Book sitting right here. I got a USB to Ethernet adapter, and I've connected a nice little red Ethernet cable over here to the Edge Switch 8. And I've pulled out the Quick Start Guide, which should give me the default IP address of that switch. There it is. Launch a web browser and type the appropriate IP address. 192.168.1.2 is the default fallback IP address. Well, what that means is that this switch is going to sit there and try and get an address via DHCP. And if it can't, it's going to just default to 192.168.1.2. Since I put this in an isolated world, because honestly, it really bugs me when things get an IP address from DHCP, because then I got to go find it. So let's open the settings of the Surface Book, shoot over to Network and Internet, change our adapter options, and right there is our USB 2.0 to fast Ethernet. It doesn't have to be a gigabit Ethernet. I'm just using it for the base configuration of this switch. There's my TCP IP settings, and we'll go to properties. It's currently set up for DHCP. So I'm going to put this laptop into the same subnet as that edge switch, which is 192.168.1.2. So we'll make this 192.168.1.1. Since it's in this little isolated network world, that should work out great. So DNS, I don't need any DNS. I don't need a default gateway. I'm just trying to get to that switch. So close out of this guy, and let's just do a quick ping. Ping 192.168.1.2. Woo! Good. We are getting there. So let's bring up that 192.168.1.2 page. It looks like it's got a license agreement on sign-in. That's fine. I agree. And the login screen will appear. Enter UBNT as the username and password. UBNT, UBNT. Login. No thanks, Firefox. Now, immediately what my eyes track to is that 8-port 1.4.0. And I think, ooh, firmware. Let's check and see if there's new firmware available. That looks good. Ah, there we go. Latest software. Nice. So we are up to 1.7.1. So hands down, stop the train. We are upgrading this switch's firmware to 1.7.1. Hit that download button. Of course, I accept. Ooh, this is interesting. Download file direct URL. So it looks like, and this is something I didn't know, it looks like the Ubiquiti Edge Switch can actually download via direct URL, or maybe they're just giving us that because they're kind. I'm just going to say save that file, and done. All right, so that should be in my downloads folder. There's the file right there. Close these tabs, and let's shoot back over to the Edge Switch, and I'm guessing that would be under System Utilities? Oh, firmware, of course. Let's hit the status. Looks like there's our current and backup versions, so configuration and upgrade. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Jeremy, do you really know the Ubiquiti Edge Switch and all of its nuance and possibilities? And the answer is no, but I do know switching, and that's what I want to convey to you is a lot of times you've got to take what you know about switching, the concepts, and apply it to a whole variety of platforms. And I know right now, if I don't upgrade that firmware, I'm probably going to run into some bugs. So let's do it now while we're fresh out of the box. Looks like on our backup image, we've got a link here to upgrade the firmware. There's our select file. Go to my downloads folder, and there's the firmware I just downloaded. Begin transfer. Go, edge switch, go. Go, edge switch, go. Makes you go faster if you dance. This is taking a while. It takes a while sometimes because we're sitting there waiting for it to write to the flash memory. And the flash memory of switches is usually really slow. It's kind of like the old flash memory on cameras. Remember when you could only take like one picture a second long ago on digital cameras? The good news is that it's non-volatile, so it'll save that firmware. But the bad news is it's really slow. Whew, it's done. That took some time. That was about 6 minutes to copy a 14 megabyte file. So there must have been something going on in the background there. So we'll close out of that. And, oh, we logged out because of idle time. That tells you how long that copy took. There we go. Let's get back to our, oh, look, there's a tab right there. Firmware upgrade. That's easy. Okay, great. So now look at this. We've got the backup firmware at 1.7.1. And I'm going to say the next active image is, boom, let's do that. We'll submit it. Now, the only way to get an active image is to reboot that switch. So once it comes back and says you're good to go, let's restart. There's our tab to restart the switch. All operations will stop. That's good. Restart and proceed. And we wait. Let's get a continual ping going. I'll put a ping 192.168.1.2-T, which just says keep going so we can see when this thing comes back online. Hey, there we go. Let's come back here. It's still loading away. Hit the enter key to refresh that page. Sweet. Back at the login prompt. UBNT, UBNT. And look at that. Edge switch 1.7.1. I feel so much more stable. Now, Ubiquiti is speaking to my heart. I was looking at these menus and I thought, man, that's a lot of menus to go through. But then I'm looking across the top and I'm like, man, it's like they thought about all the great features that I wanted right there on these tabs. Because look at that, port channel or lag ports, that's what we're after. Now that's interesting. When I click on that, it shows these interfaces 3/1, 3/2. You know what I'm betting? Now I'm just taking a stab at this point, that these are going to be the virtual interfaces. Just like when we saw the core lag configuration, we saw the Cisco switch come up with PO1, PO2. Those were the port channel interfaces. I bet you Ubiquiti says you can have up to 6 port channels, is my guess, and they're going to be called 3/1, 3/2. Let's look at the port summary and see if we see any difference there. Yeah, look at this. We've got ports 0/1 through 0/10, which if you look at the front of the switch, 0 through 8 is the normal Ethernet ports, and then we've got 2 SFP ports over here that are currently empty. That would be port 9 and port 10. That would be on the switch. So definitely, I'm feeling more and more confident about my theory there that the port channel or the lag interfaces, these are the virtual ones, 3/1. So let's check 3/1 and click on Edit and see what options we have. All right, it's saying admin mode enabled. That means it's up and running. Spanning tree mode is enabled, so it's going to run spanning tree on this port. Static mode, and it looks like that is enabled. Now again, taking a stab at this, I'm thinking static modes means you're not using LACP. So it's not going to try and negotiate, it's just statically setting. But again, at this point, I'm just taking a stab. The reason I'm using another switch is because I want to get in your mind the fact that the concepts are the same across whatever platform you are. You just got to learn each vendor's nuances right there. Link trap, a trap message is sent anytime something goes down. That's an SNMP, a monitoring trap saying, help, I'm down. And it's saying, I'm not going to do that if this goes down. Then we've got our load balancing options, which it looks like it's got quite a few more than that SG300 core lag that we set up. Which for now I'm just going to leave it at source/destination MAC as the load balancing algorithm it's going to use, plus whatever other load balancing it wants to throw in there. Now, as for the ports, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do ports 7 and 8 will be my lag. So that'll be connected to the wall jack. 1 through 6 will be my usable ports for the stuff that I want to do at CBT. So let's go ahead and toss 7 and 8 over there. Chunk. And for now, I'm going to disable static mode because I don't know what that does. Click on submit, and at least we've got some members now. So now we go to Google and do what every IT administrator does. Figure it out. Edge switch, lag, configuration. And they're speaking to my heart right here. How do I set up LACP? So let's go with the one that says solves. That sounds like a good start. Well, just glancing at this first thing, LACP mode is set in the system port SUMMY, I'm assuming that's summary, edit port configuration. So that's where we turn on LACP. It looks like whoever created this post is saying that LACP was grayed out to where he couldn't enable it under the interface. And what one of these guys is showing is that if the static mode is disabled on the lag, then it'll not gray it out under the port. So let's run with that. Let's take a look and see if we can put those puzzle pieces together. We already said disable the static, so there's our dynamic type. Let's go to the port summary. Jump down here to 7 and 8. It looks like it's already changed these guys to trunk member because it's recognizing that they're a member of some other style of configuration. So we'll go check and check. Click the edit button. Oh, that's great. I bet you in firmware 1.7.1, when you turn on or disable the static mode, it automatically enables LACP under there. This is cool. Honestly, guys, I would say this switch is almost ready to go into my little rack over there. The last thing I want to do is assign it an IP address because I don't want to have to set up some 192.168 configuration every single time I want to configure it. So let's see. Let's go to the dashboard and see if that's a good place to configure the IP. I'm not seeing it. I see the IP address right there, but let's dig into that system menu. Man, that's small. Basic configuration switch? No. System menu. Management access. Ooh. Let's go with system. No. Somebody far wiser would be Googling right now. All right. System. Connectivity? Ooh, IPv4. Yeah. I know right now you're thinking, is this how everybody does network administration? Yeah, kind of. Once you learn the concepts, you just kind of figure things out as you move between the different vendors of switches. So we're back here. Let's take a look. Now, first off, network configuration protocol. I'm going to say no. I don't want it to. That's okay. I don't want it to get an IP address via DHCP. That drives me crazy. What I do want to do is give it one that works in the subnet that we've set up here at this office, 10.225.1.240. Well, let's come back to our diagram. This is our little ES8, Edge Switch 8, that we're installing in the office. It's going to have those two cables coming from 7 and 8 that we're going to configure as a lag. I'm not sure which switch it's going to connect to yet because I haven't traced back that wall jack and figured out where it's plugged in. I do see that our IP addressing ends at 10.225.1.243. So let's open up a command prompt and we'll ping 10.225.1.244 just to make sure nothing is there. Great. Our network diagram grows bigger. You shall be .244 Edge Switch 8. Coming back down here, 1.244, 255.255, and the default gateway 10.225.1.254 is the router that gets you off this network. If you don't have a default gateway, you can still manage it while you're sitting here connected to this network, but if you ever leave and go home and try and work on it from there, you're not going to be able to reach it because it can't get off its local network, so it needs a default gateway. I'll click on Submit. And when that happens, I'm going to lose connectivity because I'm on that 192.168.1.1 IP address. And you can see it's already taken effect. My requests are timed out. So let's open our settings one more time. Network and Internet, adapter options. Go to my little USB to Ethernet adapter, double click our TCP IP version 4, and let's just assign it 10.225.1.245, the next one. Just something that I know isn't in use, but it doesn't really matter right now because I'm on this little isolated network segment. I'm not connecting back to the main network. Click OK, bring up that prompt. Let's Control C out of the ping, and we'll do a ping to 10.225.1.244. And we're good. Life is good. Now, I'm ready to unplug this guy and put it back into the rack, but the key is I've got to make sure that configuration is saved. I noticed that when I was sitting there looking at the configuration. So let's now adjust this IP address, 225.1.244. Hit enter, and we're back at the login screen. And I will want to change that username and password soon enough. And we're going to add all of this stuff to our documentation. But for now, I'm just getting the base configuration. This is the base configuration for this switch before we go install it inside of that CBT Nuggets rack. So I'm going to click this Save Configuration link to proceed. Click on OK. And operation succeeded. Good. We stopped blinking. I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. All right, now we can take this guy and set him right here, and we can take port 7 and 8, get them plugged in. Fished over here, we'll unplug whatever's in this wall jack right now, and we've prepared an outage window for our dear friends, which is just me. We'll plug this guy into port 8 and this guy into port 7. There we go. We've got those neatly tucked away over there. Now we've got to go figure out where this jack 117 terminates in the MDF and IDF. This goes back to the documentation. If we would have documented all of the network with flare, we would already know that just by opening the Excel spreadsheet. In our case, I chose the minimum flare route. For shame. All right, here we are looking back at the rack. Whoever did this cabling was freaking awesome. And I wish I could say it was me, but it wasn't. Look at what they've got here. We've got 117 blue and orange, and I can see those are ports 9 and 10, or actually, sorry, 33 and 34 on this patch panel. I'm too short to see those bottom numbers. So I'm gonna pull this off. There we go, 117 blue. Tug that little cable. And it wraps around in there and goes through over here. This is the curse you have subjected yourself to if you do not have good documentation. Pushing your fingers through mobs of cables to try and figure out what's connected to what. You know what? I don't like doing this at all. Let me show you a different approach that we could take. Now, one thing that I was able to determine from my little trip back to the rack was that wall jack 117 blue and orange did connect to this switch number 2. So I know that these cables are going there, but I couldn't quite determine, just because I didn't have the patience to try and dig through that whole cabling mess, where on that switch they plugged in. Now my thought is what I can do is telnet into that switch, 10.225.1.243. Fix that. Log in there. And then reach down here on the wall jack and unplug one of those wall jacks. I plug this thing in so it should be active, and I see a link down, gig 9. Oh, I cheated. Plug that back in. I should see link coming back up on gig 9. Or not. Sometimes it suppresses the notification if it gets multiple within a short time frame. I'll unplug the bottom jack there, the orange jack, and I should see something. There we go. Okay, it just was kind of lagged there for a second. There we go. Link has gone up on 9, and then gig 10 went down. So I'm thinking this right here, 117 orange, does connect into gig 10. I'll plug that back in just to be sure. 117 blue connects to port 9. Sure enough, gig 10 is back up. So I'm going to open my minimum flare documentation right now and scroll down to that Suite 4, switch number 2. Let's highlight a couple lines, hit Insert to squeeze in 2 more lines. Click my little formatting tab and say format the same as below so I get the clear cells. Copy, paste, and we've now inserted port 9 and 10, which is going to wall jack 117-blue and 117-orange. And then I'm going to put a slash and put 8 and put a slash up here and put 7. That represents port 7 and 8 on the edge switch. From there, I'm going to type in CBT Office edge switch. Copy, paste, drop that down there, and save that spreadsheet. Just a plug for full flare documentation. That little event right there in the real world, meaning someone that didn't know the network in the facility as well as I do, would probably have cost you about an hour to an hour and a half to figure all that out and document it. Makes a pretty strong argument for documenting everything from the beginning, because over the years, you're going to add up far more time and frustration than if you would have just taken the time to begin with. Now back to the topic at hand, I've now determined that port 9 and 10 is connected to port 7 and 8 on that edge switch. I need to configure these for a lag on the SG300. So let's bust out our web browser and go to .243. 10.225.1.243. Log in. Expand port management, drop down to link aggregation, lag management, and we will choose lag number 2. Edit. We'll call this one CBT lag. We'll call it switch 2 to switch 3, which will eventually be the name of this guy right here, RT-ST4-S3. We'll turn on LACP and group together interfaces 9 and 10. Boom. Hit apply and hold our breath. Close this down. Still showing link down. Let's refresh it. Click on link management. And the link has come up. I'm going to open a command prompt and ping that guy. Ping 10.225.1.244. Sweet. I love it when stuff works. Let's see if we can pull up the web GUI. Hit enter. Sure enough, we're there. Need to change that default password. And we are moving. Let's go over to this lag, and I see the admin mode is enabled. Spanning tree is enabled. The link is up. Active ports are showing. This is good. Now, I told you at the beginning you would be able to configure link aggregation to an edge switch. You probably didn't know just how deep we would go by introducing yet another vendor switch into the picture. But wasn't that so good? So here's what I want you to do. Configure lag or ether channel between two other switches in your lab environment. Now, you don't have to go multi-vendor like I did. But in your environment, you should have 4 switches. A couple of those should be your core, and we configured the core lag in the previous nugget. And another couple should be your edge. Now, maybe you ran only one cable between those two. It'd be great to run another. Or maybe these guys are connected close together to where you can just run a couple cables like that, similar to our Suite 1, Suite 4 design. My whole goal is that you're really comfortable configuring lag in your environment. Well, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.